I have a very simple demonstration program in Visual Studio, and all this program is going to do is open up a connection to Oracle, and then it's going to run a query to get the session identifier of this connection. And it's going to do this a total of 5 times in a row. For this program, if you don't include an argument on the command line, the program will use a connection string that has connection pooling turned on, which is actually the default in .NET. If you include an argument of no pool, then we'll use a connection string that has connection pooling turned off. If I scroll down to the method that's actually performing the data access, you can see that I have some code that is just going to print out how long it took for our data access code to get a connection object, and this value will be in milliseconds. Looking at these numbers, we'll be able to evaluate the difference between using a connection pool and not using a connection pool. So I'm going to go out to a PowerShell prompt and I'm going to run this. And the first version I'm going to run is without connection pooling. So here we are. We see that we got the first connection. It took a little bit over a second and a half, and then each subsequent connections were slightly quicker than that, but we're still running about a second each. So let's go ahead and run this with connection pooling enabled, which is the default, so we can compare our results. And here we are. Again, the first connection takes about a second and a half, a little bit more than that, but notice the subsequent connections take almost no time at all. What is happening here is that for the first connection, we had to pay the overhead of setting up the connection to Oracle, and in this case, that took a little bit over a second and a half. But then, once we have a connection, and we are able to just check that connection out from the connection pool and reuse it over and over again, getting the connection is almost instantaneous, because all we're doing is getting a reference to that pre-existing connection in our client application, and we don't have to actually pay the cost to establish that new physical connection out to the Oracle database server. In the first run of this program, what was happening is that every time that we got a connection, we had to go out and establish a physical connection to the Oracle database server, and this was taking about a second each time. So clearly, using connection pooling can give us a big boost in terms of performance, because our application code isn't having to sit around and wait while we connect to the database. So in pretty much all situations, we want to make use of connection pooling.